Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam. Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022. I'm on a roll almost 3 weeks without messing up the date. Good morning, everybody. It is Mental Health Awareness Month, along with the fact that it is the first Tuesday of May. And as you know, we come in every first and third Tuesday through our partnership and support from the Massachusetts General Hospital Office of Equity and Community Health. We come in and we talk about issues around health, routine and preventative health care. I need to drink my coffee. And also, in general, the Java with Jimmy brand and also the Java Cafe talks a lot about mental health. It is Mental Health Awareness Month here in the month of May. And then in July, though it's called minority, I'll say BIPOC or people of color, Mental Health Awareness Month in July. And so we're going to get clarity to why we have a very familiar Java family member in the cafe here with us this morning. But do me a favor before we bring in our guest, hit share. Tag someone that you know may be dealing with issues of violence or a survivor of violence. We're going to share one of the modules that the Peace Institute uses to support families, but we're going to also talk about the partnerships that both MGH and Brigham and Women's has with the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute. And so without further ado, I would like to bring in my guests this morning. One of them you definitely know very well, and the other two you're going to get to know. And so at this time, I would like to introduce the Peace Commissioner, as given the title by Tina Sherry, and also Anna Porter, and also and I think I have it right. Anna is from MGH, and then we also have Cheryl Lane, who is from Brigham and Women's. Please don't forget at about 8:35, 8:40, Dr. Alabre is going to come in because though we're going back outside and there are things going on, we need to have some COVID and vax updates. And so that's going to take place at about 8:35, 8:40. But I would like to say welcome to my guest this morning. Cindy's not really a guest, but Cindy, greet the people. Give us a little context of why we're here today. And yeah, you know what to do. I'm just going to drink my coffee and you go ahead.
Drink your coffee because it's at 9:30, not 8:30.
So I've been doing that a lot. People are getting me in the comments, and I bet if I go in there right now, somebody's going to be like 9:30, 9:30. So at 9:30, Dr. Alabre is going to come in 9:35-ish. He's going to come in and talk with us about COVID updates and vaccination updates. So as Cindy does, get me together real quick. Say good morning to the people.
Good morning, everybody. And hello, Java family, Mama Java. Sharon Cornelius.
Oh gosh, he's in the comments.
So every time at this time of year, I talk to you all about the Mother's Day Walk for Peace. And this year is a very special one for me because I am one of the co-chairs of the Mother's Day Walk for Peace. So what I've done is put together a campaign called Peace of Mind. And I have my colleagues with me today. We have put together a competition between the Brigham and Mass General Hospital to see who can raise the most money. And so all of the funds that we raise will go towards the Peach Play in urban settings. And I'm going to read to you exactly what that is. if you haven't heard of it before. So peace play in urban settings is a healing tool, healing technique where individuals and families are invited to reflect on and express internal struggles and strengths without using words. And this is a tool that is used by the Peace Institute, and it is their adaptation of sand tray therapy. So what we are planning to do is to raise money so that we can put this into the community this summer, starting in July, which is BIPOC Awareness Month for.
You picked up that change. We're going to.
I did. Thank you for that, because it was a struggle for me saying minority since we are the majority now. So what we've done is the MGH team has a goal of 25,000, which is what we raised last year. And the Brigham has doubled their goal, which was 5,000 last year, and they've doubled it to 10,000, and we're just about there. So we're here to talk to you about that today. And James is on Team MGH since that's the last place that he worked with me at. So I have asked him to join our team, and he will talk to you about how you can help to support him reaching his goal of 250.
Absolutely. We're going to share the link. We're going to share the page and information as well. Thank you to both Cheryl and Anna who've been patient. Please, well, I'll just start order on my screen. Cheryl, if you could introduce yourself, and just to be courteous to Anna, we'll do Anna's introduction as well. And then we'll come back, Cheryl, to talk about, this thing with the Mother's Day Walk for Peace. And the Peace Institute is not new. There's an ongoing, partnership, though there's a more maybe defined goal for July this year. But introduce yourself, say hello, and then we'll have Anna say hello just so we can give her a chance to speak. And then we'll come back to Anna.
Thank you, Jimmy, and good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm Cheryl Lang. I am the program manager for the Stepping Strong Injury Prevention Program. So I work a lot in injury prevention, but that includes violence prevention. And I'm also the team captain for Team Brigham and Women's this year for the Mother's Day Walk for Peace. So again, thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. Anna, say hello real quick, and we're coming right back. Thank you so much for your patience.
No problem. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Happy to be here. I'm Anna Porter. I am the administrative coordinator at MGH's Center for Gun Violence Prevention, and I am team captain for Team MGH for the Mother's Day Walk this year.
Let's just name the fact that we have these wonderful women who are leading. We just came out of a Women's History Month. And so let's just name that, because when women lead, go ahead. So Cheryl, please tell us a little bit about Stepping Stone, and then tell us about the partnership that you have with the Peace Institute, and then maybe end with how this more defined focus fundraising, for this, I call it Peace Play, but go ahead and just share with us the work and the partnership with the Peace Institute.
Yeah, thank you, Jimmy. So the Peace Institute is an integral partner to pretty much all of the hospitals in the Boston area. And I can only speak towards Brigham, so I'll just speak towards our partnership. But basically, when we have survivors of violence or those that pass away from homicide come into the hospital, our violence recovery program immediately refers the family members to the Peace Institute to make sure that they get the help that they need. So shout out to our violence recovery program. And then the Brigham, or the Stepping Strong Injury Prevention Program, works with the Peace Institute in various ways through trainings, supporting their programming. We've had them do a lunch and learn with us and our program to kind of highlight the work that they do to people in the hospital that aren't familiar. But basically, they're a super, super important partnership, and we wouldn't be able to do, all the work that we do around violence prevention or violence intervention without the Peace Institute. And so it's really important this year, as Cindy mentioned, that we're raising funds that will go towards sand tray therapy or peace play, as you said, Jimmy, because especially we've been seeing across the hospital and across the city, I'm sure you all have seen, there's been an increase in violence, and then also an increase in the negative mental health impacts of the increase in violence or the COVID pandemic or everything else going on in our world. So now is more important than ever to raise awareness about this, raise money for such an innovative approach to healing that we can now distribute as a hospital to community partners that need it, or to our healthcare workers that might be burnt out and really not practicing self-care like they should be. And so we're really excited about this, basically raising awareness for these sand tray therapy kits that Cindy has started this year. So thank you.
And how are you doing with the goal? If anybody's watching from Brigham and Women's or Mass General, Brigham or whatever, how are you doing with the goal? And this is a good time to encourage your peers and coworkers to seek you out and make sure they make a donation. How are you doing with raising the funds?
We are doing pretty well compared to last year. So I will say that this year is a lot better. However, we still have not met our goal yet. We're about $2,000 away from Brigham's goal, or maybe less. Cindy's shaking her head. I think we're about 1,000. We hit 9,000 last night. So we're about 1,000 away from Team Brigham. And MGH is, blowing us out of the water, even though we are trying to compete with them. But yeah, we are still slowly but surely getting there. And we appreciate anybody's support because like Cindy said, like Jimmy said, like this is going towards such a really great initiative, and it will go right back to the community, to those in need. So we're really excited about it.
And also, thank you for naming the fact that the trays are not just going to those that are dealing with issues of handgun, youth, and gang retaliatory violence, but our first responders will also benefit from this as well. And in a few minutes, we'll see just a little, not the full clip, but we'll see a little clip of it was, and Tina actually states the date. I think it was November 20 something. Or 19 something 2019, I believe, that I did my first peace play after about a decade of the Peace Institute trying to get me to go. Cindy shaking her head, trying to get me to go and do peace play. And so Anna, like Sharon Cornelius, I'm going to say your name 3 times because you've been so patient being our last speaker this morning. But from the MGH perspective, talk about the partnership with the Peace Institute and how you will observe or help institute this more defined goal of supporting people with sand tray peace play.
Right. Well, first, I just wanted to thank Cheryl for everything that you just said. I completely agree. And as you said, with the uptick in violence and mental health issues, it's just so important right now that we get as many resources out to community members and first responders. So thank you for bringing that up, Cheryl. And I also wanted to bring attention to a new partnership that we are in the middle of right now between the MGH Center for Gun Violence Prevention, the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute, and Emerson College's Engagement Lab. We call this initiative Transforming Narratives of Gun Violence. And it's really about centering stories of gun violence around the assets of the community. The Peace Institute is an amazing example of that. These sand tray therapy kits are another amazing example. And sharing the real stories of survivors. And it's been so impactful for me to get to work with some of these survivors, hear their stories, and hear how sand tray therapy has impacted them and helped them on their healing journeys. So that is just one way that we're partnering with the Peace Institute, and I can already just see how big the impact is going to be in the future, and it's amazing to be a part of. So,
absolutely. And so, Cindy, I'm going to come back to you in a second, but Anna and Cheryl, jump in here as you will. How important is it that generally, raising the funds for the Peace Institute are important because, as you said, hospitals, not just hospitals, municipalities, the community, when issues like that happen, Tina's typically in the Peace Institute are the first people that come to mind to help families get through. How much more do you see the ability, because we understand that these issues really, it takes a minimum of about 2 years to really start the process of really dealing with the reality that someone is gone. What's the impact that you see with the ability to give these out for free, eliminating the cost of someone? And we understand and know that most people, when we talk about BIPOC Mental Health Awareness Month, you all move in healthcare. You all know the disparities. I'll shut up. How much of an impact is this going to have to be able to give these out for free?
I think the impact is huge. Especially right now, we see a shortage of mental health clinicians that are available to people. So with giving these out for free and being able to do therapy and practice healing is just, huge. And then also, people might not be comfortable going to the traditional, mental health clinicians. Like that doesn't work for everyone. And so this is an innovative approach to healing, to, working through the trauma that has impacted these families. And I think it's just, it's increasing access to a really vital and important mental health approach, or basically mental health modality. So yeah, it's huge.
Anna?
Well put, Cheryl, again. I think that, right, access is this huge issue. There's so much room for improvement in the hospital setting right now. I believe in getting different sorts of resources to different people based on what is culturally appropriate. It's not a one size fit all solution.
Say what you want to say. Be comfortable, Anna, and say what you want to say.
Yeah. I just think that the more modalities for healing that we have and we can offer to patients and those who are struggling, the better. And I hope that was a coherent thought, but I'll leave it at that.
Good, you're good, because we talk often about health disparities and equity in this space here in the Your Healthy Java Cafe. So absolutely. Cindy, getting back to what has been able to, I think this is the second year where there's been real intentionality about trying to bring more hospitals. And I think if I heard you right the other day, you all have got all the hospitals, I believe, within Boston, the major hospitals, BMC, MGH, Brigham and Women's, and maybe some others, really trying to get folks to support the Peace Institute. But this year, this MGB collaboration, what does it mean? What does it mean to have this in place?
Well, it is, for those of you that work in the hospital systems, we are the number 1 and number 2. And sometimes we compete against one another. So it's been an awesome feeling for me in particular to bring together 3 people from the Brigham and 3 from MGH to work on this collectively. So I want to give a shout out to everyone involved. That's Cheryl, Anna, Damien, Ronasia, and Gretchen. And we are leading by example for the other hospitals who we hope will accept the challenge next year to support this particular effort to raise funds for this this therapy. Yes, Damien.
That wasn't for you. You focus on what you're saying.
Yeah, well, don't put it up while I'm talking, because you know me, cheerleader. But it's really important that we set this trend for other people in the health care field so that we can work collectively, because as Anna and Cheryl have both stated, it's really difficult right now, particularly during the pandemic, to get an appointment. And even prior to this pandemic, there's a lot of folks that aren't interested in seeking normal types of, or not normal, or the society's view of therapy. And so this is something that was a tool that was created, I believe it was for the survivors of 9/11, from what Tina has told me. And now they have adapted it to use in our communities. And so MGH has a Santray therapist, and we will be able to provide that service. And these toolkits cost $200 each. So what we're raising will be able to distribute these in the community. And so actually, Tina Sherry has asked me to challenge your Java listeners to come and participate with you on Sunday and wear your Java with Jimmy t-shirts and support your efforts in raising funds towards this, so that we can be out in the community this summer to distribute this. And I know that you do a lot of work with Toy Burton, Mental Health While Black, and you have your Mental Health Mondays. Let's put some teeth behind that and be able to put this into our communities this summer.
Absolutely. I'm going to go to my solicitation. I'm actually halfway at the goal, thanks to someone we're going to bring in a few minutes. But I wanted to share with you all my experience. It is minimized because the other video is about 10 minutes. And so because we have limited time, I didn't want to show the whole video. But I wanted to share with you my experience after about a decade of Tina and other staff at the Peace Institute trying to get me to come and do peace play. I'll probably post the 10-minute one on my website. It's I won't say bad, but Tina, oh my God, Tina she messed me up. So anyway, here's a little preview of what we do with the peace play and sand tray play.
November 15th, and it is 4:10, James Hills.
So for me, the reason I have these symbols of the cross and a church and the purple ribbon, well, the cross and the church and the Bible here are very significant because of my faith. At the root of everything that I do in this space, I really believe it's a calling. And if it wasn't a calling, I would have been able to turn it off years ago. If you notice right behind the church, there's mirror number 1, and then all around the box, I have 4 different mirrors. And the reason I put the mirrors in there is because I think in this space, and we move in beautiful spaces, or even in our private lives, beautiful spaces or in public, but even our private lives. Sean Brown from BAM. So that was my beginning, and I think either Tina hit the camera or something there, and it was over. And so what I'll do at the end of today's session, for those of you, because as I'm watching that, I'm remembering, and I'm got the warm and fuzzies thinking about it now, because I went and did that with Tina about November 11th, 12th, about 4 days, Cindy, after I had left Youth Build USA. And so anyway, it is helpful. Let me tell you all from firsthand experience, it is helpful. And if you noticed anything in the sand tray there, and if you know me, you've seen the representation of a lot of what contributes to why, I advocate the way I do and whatnot. And so we just wanted to share a little personal experience with you in reference to that peace play. The other thing I wanted to do is share with you all. Let me stop this screen share and share with you all. Now I hope this thing better work, Jesus. I think it's going to work. Chrome tab, annual Mother's Day Mark for Peace. Okay. We did it. We did it. Thanks to MGH, we have a new computer, and sometimes the share screen here lately hasn't wanted to work with me. And so this is the page that you all can go to. I'm going to put it in the, all right, let me get this together here. You all know, let me put some music on. You all know we do stuff in real time. This is the page, and I'm going to put it in the comments here. As you can see, I have a very minimal goal, just because we're going to bother you off with something else soon. But I have a goal of $250, and we are halfway there. We are halfway there, and I will certainly not reject anything over that goal. And so as you see right here, and he'll be in, I don't know if it's fully clear to you all, but Dr. Alabre made a contribution, and so the Java fam, or the Your Healthy Java fam, puts its money where its mouth is. And so shout out to Dr. What was it, Cindy? I see you flashing in the background. Go ahead, you could chime in.
You only need 5 Java fans to sponsor you for $25.
$25.
And you'll be at your goal.
I'll be at my goal, and I really want to supersede the goal. And so I put the link in the comments. And so please go and make that contribution there, because this is going to give us the ability to give these sand trays out and continue not just the sand trays, but the ongoing work that I'll say all 3 of these entities, MGB, MGH, Brigham and Women's, does with the Peace Institute, supporting the Mother's Day Walk for Peace. And I'm just looking, it's been 26 years. Whew. Go ahead. This is not Zoom.
I just want to say, when you make your donation, can you please put in your donation comment from the community, so that we can show our teams that the community.
Can they say from the From the Java.
From the from the Java fam, they'll know /community, so that we are we have the community representing, because a lot of the donations are coming from clinical staff and our friends and family, but we want to make sure that people know that the community supports what we're doing.
Okay. I'm just putting a comment here, $25 and ad from the Java fam community. Okay. We got a banner up here, so now folks can see and take screenshots. And so we are definitely encouraging you to come out. I keep calling myself for self-care skipping out of town. I was going to try to do it this weekend, but obviously that's not happening. And so Anna and Cheryl, any closing remarks that you would like to make before we get ready to bring in Dr. Alabre to talk about COVID-19 and vaccinations? Folks, tune in, stay tuned in, and also share, because there's a lot going on with COVID and the vaccination as well. Cheryl?
Yeah, thank you, Jimmy. I'll just reiterate that this is such an important program, and thanks so much to the Peace Institute for working with us on this. There's such a great partnership to all of us in the hospital realm. And thanks for Cindy for creating this this program that will be allowed to give out to the community and really make that huge impact that we were talking about earlier. And thank you all to the Java with Jimmy family for your support. We really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to seeing you all at the walk and doing it again next year. So thanks again.
Cheryl, thank you. Anna?
Yeah, again, thank you so much for having us on to talk about this. And thank you, Cindy, for being our overall team leader. I think you've inspired us all so much, and you are the reason that this is all happening and all of these funds are being raised. It's amazing. And just looking forward to the walk and being out in the community and showing that we're there. So
Anna, thank you. And Cindy, you can close us out. I'm getting ready to bring in Dr. Alabre as well as we getting ready to go into our second segment. Go ahead, Cindy.
I just want to say thank you to everyone for their support, and to let you know that MGH is only $1,650 away from their goal of $25,000, and the Brigham is only $863 away from their goal of $10,000. So we are doing so well.
So to technically, if you know, friendly competition, though the goals may be a little bit different, in that recent update, BWH is doing a little bit better getting to their goal, correct? Look at Cheryl. She's like, right. Yeah. But please, staff, community, Java fam, the link is in the comments. I'll share it on my page later for you to go and make a contribution to make sure that we get these out to the community for free. Dr. Alabre, please greet your colleagues here. And if you could just add before we go into the COVID-19 update and vaccination. And we talked about this before, but correlation between what this service provides and the impact on our health in our body and things like that. What is the correlation between the two?
Wow, it's like everything, basically. Like there is no health without mental health. And so, you know, this is, we've spent years trying to teach and appreciate the impact of mental health and mental well-being as opposed to sort of physical well-being, and how they are intertwined in really one thing. So the impact is huge, obviously, and I support this wholeheartedly.
and you put your money where your mouth was. Thank you so much, Dr. Alabre. You got us to the halfway point of our goal.
Absolutely.
I wanted to say thanks again to our wonderful other staff from Massachusetts General Hospital and also Brigham and Women's, overall MGB. Thank you all so much. And for those of you that are watching, again, please tag. I know a lot of you go and watch after, but tag and share with those that have unfortunately dealt with this issue. And so they can be aware, one, of the resource, and two, if they have the ability to make a contribution, and three, meet me. Is it at the same location, Cindy? And I know Tina, somebody's watching, they'll get me if I don't have these details. Same location over in Fields Corner.
We're leaving from Townfield Park, and if they want to be in the photo with you, the Team MGH is at 7:30 a.m. this Sunday.
At what time?
Yes, James, 7:30. The program starts at 8, and you want to be there when I'm on stage and pointing you out. Thank you.
All right. So in that case, you all have a wonderful evening. You all have got me saying evening. You all have a wonderful day. And we're going to continue with Dr. Labre. Again, Anna Sherrill and Peace Commissioner Diggs. Thank you all so much for being with us today and raising awareness around the need and also the work that you're doing to support the need. Thank you all. Dr. Alabre, it has been a few weeks since we've had you on. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, I think, right, Jimmy?
Yes.
I'm well.
I think so. For those of you all that don't know, I think since Dr. Alabre has been on live, we actually got to meet face to face at the anniversary, and I really have grown to appreciate his passion. And I'll be honest, I kind of missed you the last couple of episodes. But you know, we're working and tweaking some things for the ongoing development of the show, and I'll share some things at the end. But Dr. Alabre, since you've been on, there have been a lot of updates. There have been a lot of changes. Just from my familiarity with watching the news, they're talking about a new variant. We see that the PD, though you're not a pediatrician, we see that the PD-Vax is in the process of getting emergency use authorization for those 5 and under. So we thought it was important today to come with some COVID-19 updates and vaccination updates as well. So Dr. Alabre, the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, there's definitely been some changes, and you know, we've talked about this. This is sort of part of how the viruses typically work. They mutate, there are changes. So we went from the Omicron to the subvariant, and so you know, there are some positive, there is some progress. It's not all gloom, and I'm not going to get into sort of the question about are we out of the pandemic. I'm just going to say COVID is still around, and we do have, unfortunately, some increase in the numbers, both cases and hospitalization. And I'll just give you a brief sort of stat. This is from the Boston Public Health Commissions, and as of April 28th, just a few days ago, so we had about a 58% increase
in cases,
in hospital admissions.
Okay.
So the week of that ended on the 28th. So 58% increase, and we had a 118% increase over the last 2 weeks in hospitalizations.
So last time I gave updates that, you know, because I get the MIC report from the Health Commission as well. Right. We didn't have the consideration or the factoring in of the marathon, and there was Easter. Right. So hospitalizations is something that is a good indicator of where we are. And so what is your response when you saw those? What was your response or thoughts when you saw those numbers? Because as you said, we're not out of COVID yet.
Right, I know. I mean, it's certainly a little concerning that we are seeing more cases. And I don't have the mortality data right now to share with you. But obviously the big fear is that we do end up with obviously people dying from getting COVID. The numbers are not huge, but a life is a life, a loss. And so that's not something we look forward to. In terms of hospitalizations itself, this is for COVID numbers, but there's also lots of other things happening. And so there are still some concerns about the hospitals being full. To just give you a little bit more update, I was on call this weekend, and I got a page every single day about how our emergency room was on Could Help because we were full. There was no beds for people to get into, lots of people waiting in the emergency room. So there's some stress there in that area. And one of the fears also is that we're not getting the full picture of new COVID cases because a lot of people are doing home tests and not reporting it. Obviously, I got a lot of calls because when they're positive, they do call, luckily. And that's part of the things I wanted to discuss as well, is that we are doing better in terms of how we manage this. We have a few more tools added to the sort of battle, in a sense, is that we do understand how it spreads and how it affects the body a little bit better after about 2 years or so. We do have the new pill that a lot of people know of and have heard about, Paxlovid, that does reduce the risk of severe illness and death as well, that we are using, and a few other options. And so if you are affected by this COVID, it's good to check in with your health providers and see what is appropriate for you. It's not for everyone, but lots of people would qualify for these kind of treatments and hopefully reduce their risk of having more advanced or more critical illnesses in complications. However, the best tool is still the vaccine. I have to say, no matter how you look at it, every data that's been released, every health institutions, every expert, we still believe that getting vaccinated and getting boosted is the best way to actually reduce the severity of this illness and the downside consequences of getting COVID. And so I'll go back just a little bit. So I gave you the hospitalizations for COVID, and also so the number of cases. We've also seen an increase the last 14 days that ended on February 28th. We had 21% increase in reported cases. In the week that ended April 28th, there was a 28% increase on that. So the good news is—
let me interrupt and ask, what does that impact as far as general and in the community? What does that impact?
So what this actually translates to, in a sense that can be more, I guess, easy to understand, is that there were about 54 cases per 100,000 people in that week.
Okay.
Of COVID. Okay. And so one of the trends is that it was increasing a little bit more the last week than the previous 2 weeks. But to be a little bit positive, I guess, we can look at also sort of the wastewater COVID contaminations, which is
the mayor mentioned that. The mayor mentioned that when she was on, and it was surprising to hear that she was looking at that and really gave a good breakdown of you know, that's being a factor, not just looking at the positivity rate. And so and she explained it a little in depth about looking at it. And so so the wastewater is something that you guys are looking at as well, as far as in the medical industry.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because it helps you understand a little bit, again, because of the decrease or change in report, because people are not being tested at hospitals and clinical sites as much, because they're doing it at home. So we're not getting all the numbers. So we're looking at different factors and different ways to assess the situation. And sort of when you look at the wastewater contamination, it gives you somewhat of a sense of the prevalence of the virus in the community. And so looking at this may seem a little bit positive. Looking at the last 14 days, it was somewhat stable. In the last week, so more recently, there was a slight decrease. And so there's going to be obviously a lag in what we see in the wastewater and what people have, because by the time you present with symptoms, so basically it's somewhat hopeful that we may be getting to a decrease in the sort of amount of the virus around in the community.
Okay.
Or possibly stable. But at this point, again, one of the things that I always sort of talk about is that when we look at these numbers, we're looking at the whole population, obviously, thousands of people. And that has some implications for the healthcare industry and how we deal with this as a whole. But we have to remember, every person who gets this, it's 100% for you. And so you have to realize that if you are at high risk, if you are older, and if you've sort of criteria, your risk is your risk. So it's good to look at the numbers, to plan and know what you're doing, but nothing helps doing what you can do to protect yourself.
And which is the vaccination. And so where are we with the PD vaccination?
So the PD vaccination, again, we do know that, as you mentioned, there was a submission to the FDA for approval. I don't have any way to tell you how long that will take. There's a lot of report and talks about by June, there's a big meeting coming up that will hopefully have a word or an answer on the approval by that time. And so it is likely to be approved by most account, what experts are saying. And so that certainly will be a big change, because there's been a lot of stress and anxiety for many families who have young kids who can't be vaccinated as to what they can possibly do to help.
I was going to ask about that, and not to so much put you on the spot, but and we may have talked about this before, but you're a physician and also a parent, and so you probably don't trust the system and the data and the research. As a parent, like how would you suggest a parent approach considering the vaccination if they have children ages 5 and under?
Again, look at the trusted sources. There's going to be a lot out there, obviously. People talk.
And type. And type and post.
Type and post. There's certainly going to be a lot of questions. And I really caution people about just listening to anyone, because that's not helpful to most people when you're listening to someone who may not know what they're talking about, or misunderstand what they actually even hearing. And so the sort of advice remains the same. Go to your trusted sources, talk to your clinicians, talk to your doctors, see what the experts are saying, or better, what the consensus is, because just because one person says something obviously doesn't mean that you have to take that person seriously, even if it's a family member. Because
don't start no trouble in here, Dr. Lava.
I'm not starting trouble. I'm being real. I'm keeping it real, because we all have that person in our lives who will have a different opinion that is based on nothing. And so taking someone's opinion that is based on nothing isn't helpful to you. And we certainly understand that this is new and it's going to cause some concerns. And every parent is obviously protective of their children and want to do the best that they can. And no one wants to put their kids at risk of anything. And we know that this also has taken a long time. And that's part of it, because you can't get it wrong. The scientific community, believe me, is not just out there looking to do things.
Yeah.
They're certainly not out there looking to hurt anyone. And this is really important and serious. We're talking our children, kids, innocent, helpless, sort of, you can't get this wrong. And so if it's approved, you have to know that everything that needed to be done has been done to assure the safety of this. And again, sometimes people think I'm just saying this because I'm part of the community, the science community, I'm in medicine. But like I mentioned, I'm also a parent. Something I know that no one takes lightly. Can you imagine the backlash? I mean, even one person who would get hurt. And that doesn't mean no one will get hurt, because we know we're not perfect.
We're not perfect, but then also each body and each child, each adult, everyone that gets the vaccination is an individual, not to get too deep, with their own strands of DNA and mRNA and whatnot. And so we have named before that there have been, allergic reactions and stuff like that. But what I hear you reiterating is something you said some months ago. There are enough Black and brown folks in the scientific industry, in the pharmaceutical industry, in the medical industry, to where we are in different times from where we were in times and spaces that we've been very real about naming on this platform. And so I hear that coming out of you, from the medical standpoint, but then I saw a little different passion when you said, I'm also a parent.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're right. This, is being reviewed by lots of people, including BIPOC,
that look like you and I.
look like you, that, whatever it is that you consider. And also, as I had mentioned as well, is that the testing part, the research part was also done on Black and brown kids who participated. So it's not just something that's coming out of nowhere and being tossed in the communities and say, take this, and no one has actually ever tried it out. So it has. And actually, that was a good segue. I wanted to just bring to our consciousness, I guess, a little bit that when the pandemic first started, or at least when the vaccine first came out, there was a little bit of difference in hesitancy in Blacks and Browns, in BIPOC communities in terms of their willingness to take the vaccine. And this is not obviously without reasons. We do know there is history. There are factors that contributed to this. And hopefully there have been efforts put into undoing some of those damages and trust and increasing the trust in the community. But we do want to make sure that no one is left behind and left out of this, because we have that one life to live. And so we can't just wait and sort of think about the past and history and miss out on something that could actually save your life, because it would be too late by the time you realize that this was the right thing. So again, just to give a little bit of numbers, when people were polled back in February of 2021, I almost said 2000, something like, I don't know, but 2021, just a year ago.
It's been 2 years. Dealing with this, Dr. Labre. Can you believe it's been 2 years that we've been in this pandemic?
It feels like 10 though at the same time. It's kind of weird.
That's real.
So one of the things that was reported, again, this was done in Massachusetts, again, February 2021, we had about 40% of Blacks who said that they will probably not get the vaccine, compared to 14% of whites who said that they will probably not get the vaccine. And 26% of Hispanics said that they will probably not get the vaccine, compared to, again, 14% of whites. And then for Asians, it was 37% who said they will probably not get the vaccine, compared to these other numbers that I just mentioned. And the people who said that they will definitely not get the vaccine, for Blacks, it was about 4%, which was fairly the same for whites, also 4%, and then 5% for Hispanics and 4% for Asians. So we did see that difference in willingness in terms of what we
get the vaccination.
That's the hesitancy part. And so we did realize that it did lead to some mortality differences in Blacks and Browns and Hispanics compared to whites. And I think a large portion of that was attributed to the fact that we, sorry, just give me 1 second, Jim.
As you know, sometimes we have technical difficulties. So please make sure, if you have questions for Dr. Alabre, put them in the comments. As I have scrolling there in the comments for me there, we are going to show the entire video of the peace play that I did with Tina Sherry in 2019. It's been about 2.5 years since I did it. And so once Dr. Alabre is able to come back, we will have him finish his presentation. And there he is. There you go, sir.
Sorry about that. Speaking of being a parent.
And believe it or not, when we finish the presentation, there's a couple of personal questions in there. They want to find out what you play for sports or whatever. So,
yeah, sure, no problem. My 4-year-old thought she saw a bee in the house, and so I had to deal with that. There was no bee.
Hey, again, we do this in real time, sir. Again, you said you're a physician and our medical director, but you're a parent first, so we understand. But go ahead and finish the numbers.
So, I was saying, we did see that difference in hesitancy in different racial groups, and did the mortality difference where we did see more Blacks and brown indigenous populations, unfortunately, dying a larger percentage than whites, and part of it was attributed to the vaccine as well. We do know there are lots of other factors. This is not the only thing, and do not, think I'm saying this is the only reason, but it was a factor. And so, the good news is I'm glad that I have some good news to report, because I looked at the vaccination rates by groups as well.
And they're up for us.
I'm sorry?
They're up for us.
It is. So the difference is less than it was in terms of who said that they would not get it as opposed to who ended up getting it. There's still a difference, but it's a smaller gap, and I'll tell you the exact numbers. And this is just for Suffolk County. And again, to bring it home more, so we know this is really pertaining to us, to the people we're talking about. And the data was released in February of this year, the 8th of February. And for Suffolk County, the percentage of Blacks who have received at least one dose of the vaccine was 70% compared to 75% white. So a 5% difference as opposed to the 10-15 we had mentioned before. And then for Hispanics, it was actually 76%, which is slightly higher than whites who received the vaccine. And for Asians, it was 95%. And for sort of multiracial groups, they reported about 95% vaccination rates.
So from that, more BIPOC people are buying into taking the vaccination, which we know, Dr. Alabre, though we have, let's just be honest, there are breakthrough cases from the vice president to, others, but symptoms have not been that bad.
Right.
Hospitalizations have not been, I would believe that. Let me back up a little bit. Are you all finding that the hospitalizations are prominent among more of those who have not been vaccinated?
Yes.
And you see how he immediately that's a solid yes.
That is real. That we do know there are lots of breakthrough cases. The symptoms are typically minor, mild, in people who have been vaccinated. The risk of hospitalization and death are much, much, much reduced if you have been vaccinated. Actually, in fact, it's very minimal in people who are vaccinated, especially people who are not super high risk, meaning have lots of other medical conditions or maybe immunosuppressed or older. Again, I mentioned being on call. When I get a call from a 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old who has been vaccinated, or really anyone of any age who's been vaccinated, it's a whole different reaction. It's just like, you should be fine. Let's do this. Sort of like we're getting to the point of let's treat this almost like a common cold if you have had your vaccinations.
Okay.
If you have not, unfortunately, that's a whole different ballgame. And so, yes, you may end up getting COVID still after vaccinations, but your risk of dying from COVID
is much lower.
Very little.
Dr. Before we wrap up, I have one question for you. Just jumping in as I got off the road. So first, good rising to all. But my question has to do with young people with allergies and their reactions to the vaccine. My 16-year-old finally got her first with minor side effects, but about to get her second and is nervous due to scary stories. And Auntie Paula, Dr. Alabre talked about this earlier, the sources of these scary stories. And I know you thorough, you do your research, but scary stories from fellow students in school. And so mind you, she has a lot of allergies. And so a couple of things there. One, Dr. Alabre has not examined your daughter, Auntie Paula. So we're going to, say that his answer is going to be in general. The other thing is he did refer to the fact earlier that, and with young people, the influence of their peers is really huge. Let's just be honest, especially in this case where there's so much polarity in politics around vaccination or not. So what is your advice to Auntie Paula, as I call her, Dr. Alabre, in our last couple of minutes? What's your advice to her?
Yeah, so the advice is really check in with your physicians. That's the best advice I can give you. In general, most people with lots of different allergies can still get the vaccine. There's really one particular type of allergy for the mRNA vaccines. That's the Moderna and Pfizer that is contraindicated where you couldn't get it. The majority, 99+% of people with one, two, three, however number of allergies are still eligible for the vaccine, and that's not what's going to cause the reactions. We do know there are people who will have some reactions that affects from the vaccine, including soreness, mild fevers, aches and pains and things like that. They typically don't last long, typically about 24, 48 hours. It's rare that you end up with something longer. But if you are concerned, because again, we want everyone to feel comfortable about this, and we understand everyone's different, and we can't really make a general statement for everyone, as you mentioned. And so if you have any concerns at all, reach out to your pediatricians and ask. And there are allergists out there who are doing just that, actually reviewing people's allergies and safety to the vaccine, and will give you the answer that you need with confidence that you can get the second. I would not dismiss the second dose just because you had some side effects for the first. That is really the best advice I can say. This is not the end of the road. And if you want to be sure, reach out to your pediatricians. If anything, get a consultation with an allergist.
Okay.
And I can't end without saying that the boosters are also
do the boosters. Absolutely. So please make sure you get your vaccination and booster as well. And, you know, some of us are eligible that are 50 and up. So I need to go ahead and get mine. And I've been saying that for about 2 weeks, Jesus. So we're not going to go back to that. When y'all were fussing at me about getting the first, I think when I met you, I probably had already had the first vaccination. Yes, I did. So, Dr. Alabre, thank you so much for coming into the Java, Your Healthy Java Cafe back again today. Our next session is on the 3rd Tuesday in May, and we're talking women's health. Women's health on 2 weeks from today. So please come back in, and don't forget, guys, the survey. I see a couple of questions here. It is case sensitive. So please use all lowercase. We verified that this link works. If you click it right from the comments, you should be good. And also, someone asked, can you take the survey more than once? No, because we want to have good data. And so, you know, if you've already done the survey, don't do it again. But if you have not done the survey, please do the survey. And I just wanted to let you guys know that this is the first episode where we're going into non-pilot, but full contract with Massachusetts General Hospital. And so we definitely appreciate the support. We have some things in plans to kind of bring things to enhance things. And so please, so someone said the link is not working for them. Oh, you know what happened? Y'all, that's my fault. I'm fussing. I had a typo. Hold on. jwj.info. Let me put this in the comments. Your healthy job, your health. Oh, Jesus. So what is it? YHJ SURVEY. Look at Sharon. She's yelling at. Look at this. Look at this. In all caps. All right, fine. I fixed it. I had a typo versus what's on screen. I can stand to be corrected, Jesus.
All about the realness and
listen, all about the realness, sir. Dr. Alabre, thank you. Also, thank you for your donation. I just wanted to share with everyone. We exceeded our goal. Let me just show you real quick. We exceeded our goal, and we are at, let me take this other stuff down, Jesus. We are at $300. Now, that does not stop you from still giving. We can exceed our goal even more. So thank you to my mom, Gina Harris, Quincy Roberts, Teresa Santana, and I know what Teresa was doing there. She was trying to make sure we got right to the goal. Miss T, thank you. And of course, Dr. Alabre, we did exceed our goal, and we want to exceed it even more so. So thank you all so much for the donation. Dr. Alabre, I'm going to let you go. I don't know if you saw earlier, I shared a snippet of my time with the Peace Play at the Peace Institute. And I have about a 10-minute video that I'm going to go ahead and share with the people. I'm going to probably get my tissue ready here because I want people to see the real-time impact. But before we go, I do need to say that there were a couple of questions for you, Dr. Alabre. You've heard me refer to him a lot.
If you have
Props, who's part of the digital team and very invested in this place. But he was like, who is Dr. Labre? We need to know who he is. So do you play basketball or do you play tennis? What do you do in your sort of physical exercise? What do you do to stay healthy and fit?
I'm glad that was on there. Actually, that's one of my favorite sports. I do try as much as I can to play. I do run. I do happen to have a Peloton as well, so I ride fairly frequently. I'm not one of those 300-day streak people. That's ridiculous. I mix it up. So I do some running, some hiking, tennis as much as I can, and yes.
Okay. Dr. Labre, thank you. We're a little past time. And for those of you, please stay tuned for the full video of me doing the peace plate. And Dr. Labre, we will see you and talk with you soon.
Sounds great.
All right. Thank you, sir. As always. Thank you.
All right.
All right, folks, here is the video. I'm going to go ahead and share it. And here we go. Share screen. Okay, I think we are all set. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and this is about 10 minutes, but I'm going to go ahead and share the full video of my time with Tina Sherry doing the peace play. At the forefront of what we do, I saw the call. The mirrors have to be at the forefront of what we do, so we are constantly looking at ourselves in the mirror to check ourselves.
I'm going to invite you to speak from I statement.
Okay. So I put the mirrors in there because I always want to be accountable to myself. And I was always taught that if you really want to get a view of how God views you, strip down to your birthday suit and be butt naked and look in the mirror. And as you begin to look at your physical imperfections, you will begin to have a kind of a sense of how God views you in some sense. So the mirrors views me. I will have a sense of how God views me. I did not realize that I had taken so much of things pertaining to the water, and to the beach, and to seafood. The water is a peaceful place for me. I could walk over by the water with headphones on. I'm even thinking about, doing it this winter when we have a storm coming. I want to feel what it is to be at the water in the winter. I love the water. It's just a peaceful calm for me. And yeah, I love being on the beach. And I was intentional about putting that in there because it's just a peaceful place. And sometimes my self-care consists of doing a seafood boil and just eating lobster and shrimp and crab and clams and mussels and things that I like. So it's a mixture here of the beach and seafood. Again, we have the mirror again, the constant. I have the mirror again, so I can constantly look at myself. And as you go to the left here, this is the beginning of a neighborhood. And over there, you sort of have, I was intentional about the construct. There's a variation, there's a baby, there's a white male, there's what would presumably be a Latina female. There's a brother with a shirt off. There's a light-skinned brother. There's a young lady. That for me represents the community. There's a house there. There's a cat and dog. And then over here is law enforcement. And when I was first picking up the pieces, I wanted as many symbols as possible to represent like a town or a neighborhood. And I found myself comfortable but unaware as to why I left that there with the handcuffs. I think in present and in real time, it's just a part of our community. And when we talk about justice, that element is not going away. We're not going away. And if you notice, there's a mound here, and at the top of the hill, that's where the community sort of stands. And then over here again is another mirror, so I can ensure that I keep looking at myself and being accountable. And I think the final thing for me is behind the faith. You can't see the name on the brick under here, but this brick, the word love is represented on it. And then this brick here has the word hope represented on it. And then here is the word justice. And here is a blank, sort of crystal clear, but I'll stick with crystal clear representation. There's another one over here as well. That's clear. And it's clear to me that, you know, the religious piece here and me feeling about the calling is based on the scripture in Micah 6:8. And, you know, in consult before putting this together, you know, it was identified that two things are sort of crystal clear that I have worked to champion is fighting for justice and loving man or being kind. And one thing that was identified was, you know, obeying God humbly. And you can't see it, but in between these two pieces of the clarifying crystal clear thing, there is a sort of a treasure box. And I left that treasure box empty intentionally. And I'm getting this as we talk. There's two empty spots here. For some reason, there is just, I don't know what this should be. I don't know why I'm comfortable leaving it blank. I don't know if this is the road to justice and it's nothing. I don't know what it is, but I'm comfortable leaving it empty until some other point. So this bridge in the truck and this sort of hatchet, I forgot what it's called, or axe, with the word love, these four, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these 6 elements, and biblically 6 is the number of man. These numbers represent me. I have always considered myself to be a bridge between community and between government, between beliefs. And some years ago, I realized that if you look at a bridge, their functionality is to serve the purpose of getting from one place to another over water most of the time. And bridges are rowed upon. They often get to a point of being dilapidated, but at the end of the day, minus someone, the bridge completely falling apart, they are typically the last in budgets and infrastructure to be supported and rebuilt. And bridges just are a good thing. They help with the flow of things, but they oftentimes are taken for granted and tread upon and walked on and drove on. And, you know, that just comes with the responsibility of being a bridge. The truck and the hatchet are here because it's a lot to pull. On the bottom of the bridge is a soft, and I like the soft pillow of peace, because with the hatchet and with this truck, there's so much. I want to get to peace in a manner through love and softly land in an area of peace where this community is thriving. And I will, I guess, end with the final thing. The final thing I have here is after, you know, based on love and hope, and we get to a point of justice and the bridge is no longer needed, behind this community is a treasure. And in the treasure there, I put those little things like diamonds. And if there was some sort of gold representation, I would have put that in there too. But in our community is a wealth of like treasure. And if we can just get from here to peace in our community, I think will be better. And that's my world. I want to, I guess, finish it by really clearly identifying that this is the road to justice. There's nothing in there. It's just a road with no beginning. That's the end, but at some point, maybe God will tell me why that space was blank. It could be me getting in there, meaning to obey humbly. That's it. This is a lot.
Thank you, James. If you were to name this world, what name would you give it?
Healing justice.
Healing justice.
Healing justice.
Healing justice.
There's not a lot obvious about healing, but as we were talking earlier, if I were to do a different play in the sand, I would be more intentional about maybe using doctors and nurses.
I'm going to invite you. What you build is what is supposed to be. Be in the present.
Healing justice.
Healing justice. Yes.
This is my area of healing. It's lacking. The road is empty and it's just lacking. But here you still have what should always be our priority and at the top, the community. And once we get there, there's treasure there. There's treasure in that world.
And what are you naming this world again, James?
Healing justice.
Healing justice.
So everyone, that was my experience with the peace modality, or the peace play modality, rather. And it's interesting. This is Mental Health Awareness Month. There's still 15 people in here, so we're going to stay right here and hold space for a minute. It is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I can say that it's interesting for me to go back and watch that. I had just left my job through, them saying, well, today's your last day. They thought I was looking for another job when I took 3 weeks off to get this wonderful smile produced. And so I was dealing with that because I was very vocal in the agency, and there was some other stuff that had went on. And so I was dealing with that. I was in a period of asking God, like, yo, what's next? And had no idea that I'd evolve into a Black-owned business, an entrepreneur, largely starting from running my mouth over drinking coffee. There's a whole nother element that we'll be announcing in July. But I can say unequivocally that doing that peace play after almost 10 years of being encouraged to do it was powerful. And so I encourage all of you. As I said, we exceeded our goal of 250. Cindy and I had an internal in reference to, the real goal is 1,000. But I know that I have some things coming up that I need to bother y'all to support. And so thanks, Cindy, for her flexibility with that. But we're going to go ahead and get wrapped up. It's 10:16. I have to go make sure we get these T-shirts out. But thank you all for tuning in today. Thank you to Anna. Thank you to Cheryl. Thank you to Cindy. Thank you to Dr. Alabre. And thank all of you for listening in and watching a personal experience with the peace play. And y'all, I can't see these icons. StreamYards don't show them, so I got to go back and look later. And Sharon Cornelius, Sharon Cornelius, I ain't messing with you. I enjoyed messing with you yesterday, though, Sharon. But thank you all for tuning in today. We will be back tomorrow with our executive director, Nicole Obi, I believe, I'm terrible. I don't have the email open. but from the Black Economic Coalition of Massachusetts. She's the new executive director. She will be with us tomorrow at 9 a.m. And also on Thursday, talking about Mental Health Awareness Month and a modality of therapy. Naisha D from Pure Spark will be with us on Thursday morning at 9 a.m. You all have a wonderful day. Thank you for tuning in this morning. Support the Mother's Day Walk for Peace. Meet me there. If you have a Java with Jimmy t-shirt, sweatshirt, meet me there. Meet me there. Lord Jesus. I'm just mentally trying to prepare now to be in Phil's Corner at 7:15 a.m. Lord have mercy, Jesus. All right, y'all have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow at 9 a.m. with our good sister Nicole, executive director of the Black Economic Coalition of Massachusetts.